against my enemies, yeah.
Hello everyone, what is up? I am Rob.
I'm Eamon.
It is Monster Fuzz. What's up?
Not much. You well?
Not too bad yet. I'm good now. We got out all my grievances on Minifuzz.
On the Minifuzz, yeah,
so
yeah.
I feel
Jesus,
like
it was a long episode. You were just like,
when I'm on one.
And another thing.
When I'm on one.
You're right too. Do you feel better now?
Yeah, much better actually.
I'm glad.
Getting ready now to pick off a load of slugs at my plants. So
That should be fun.
yeah, I feel good.
Yeah, I have me Steam Deck charging now, go home, play a game for an hour,
class.
go to bed then. See what fresh hell awaits me after the bank holiday and work.
Very good. Hope everyone's doing well. You know, maybe you've picked off all the slugs on your plants. Wow. Very proactive of you.
Fun.
Yeah, you have to keep on top of it.
Full-time job.
Yeah. Today we've got reincarnation. What in tarnation? It's reincarnation. What's that all about then? Are you feeling a bit like you're going to die or something soon, Eamon, or what's happening?
Well, if I do, I'm confident about coming back after writing these notes.
Really?
No, I tell you what it was. I was listening to some garbage on Spotify, and they started talking about this kid who had like a World War II memories, but he was only 4. And then it like turned out that there's loads of people like this. So actually, we could probably do loads of episodes like this.
It's like a thing.
It's like a thing, yeah, that keeps cropping up. And interesting enough, not too dissimilar to Raymond Moody, who did the NDE stuff. In 1966, there's a book that came out which not popularized, but I'm assuming at the time it brought to maybe the cultural consciousness this idea of reincarnation. And a lot of cases of kids where it seems, I don't know, it seems
They've got a past
plausible.
life.
Yeah, it seems plausible. And it resonates with me a little bit because I've said it on the podcast before, my aunt was telling me that her eldest kid used to talk about his other mammy and daddy when he was really, really small. And she said they were walking through a field one day and he goes, "Oh, this is where my other mammy and daddy used to live." And she was like, "What are you talking about? Stop talking about your other mammy and daddy." But sure enough, he brought her down the field a bit and there was like the old foundations of a house. And he was like 4, you know?
Yeah, it's stuff like that. Like just one of those experiences is one of those things. If I was out and I had a kid and they did that with me, I'm like, oh, well, then there is reincarnation. That is the thing.
And also
like,
legally, if you weren't getting on with the kid, you might be able to be like,
this is your house.
yeah,
Stay off in the woods.
you stay here now, huh? Where's other mommy and daddy now?
Yeah. But no, I would. One of those, like, a convincing experience like that will just totally change
It's very similar, like, I think, from us covering NDEs, and we've done like a couple episodes on NDEs. When you start to read these things, you just kind of go, all right, yeah. Like it sort of solidifies some idea that there is something else going on. So I'm not saying you know what it is or it proves God or anything like that. It's just like, all right, something else going on here.
Yeah.
That's it. I suppose, like, goes above materialism or the way we see the material world, you know?
Well, yeah, you wonder if over time, over years, like different experiences like that are what led people to be religious, to be spiritual, you know? There's this trickle down.
I think there's probably lots of stuff at play. There's probably one thing, you know, we became civilized and I think religion had a part to play there, but actually maybe that was a kind of unifying thing that was like, well, there's something to these experiences that seems real, that people could kind of get behind.
Do you watch that little Alex O'Connor dude on YouTube?
The atheist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't like Jesus.
He doesn't. Did you ever see him messing around with AI?
No.
He does this. It's actually pretty interesting.
I don't mind him actually, he's grand.
No, he's a interesting, obviously like a student of philosophy or whatever, but interesting ideas he comes up with. He has this thing where he says to ChatGPT about like giving €20 to charity to help like children who are in war-torn countries,
right? And
then starts talking about whether he should do that or he shouldn't do that, because if he does that, he can't bring his girlfriend out for dinner, blah blah blah. So it gives
logic
him an answer
and reasoning and stuff. Yeah.
And then he says, "Oh, there's a child drowning right in front of me just now. Should I go and help?" And she's like, "Yeah, of course." And he's like, "But I just bought these runners for €100.
Morality,
so he keeps putting in, and basically he by the end of it, the AI is just like, "You ever fuck off," you know, because
he broke the AI with his intellect.
He just put it. He basically looped it around because you can see I suppose, the cognitive dissonance, because you're like, well, you're not, you know, if you knew the money was helping someone, would you do it? Blah, blah. It's just about degrees of separation and everything. But the AI at a certain point has to be like,
Sherlock.
yeah, sorry about that.
Basically, it goes Sherlock.
Pretty much.
You know, it comes to the Sherlock
It
conclusion.
goes, sure, give the money if you want. I don't care.
Sherlock.
I'm tired.
Sherlock Alex.
He'll be the first one to get got when the AI becomes sentient, though.
Yeah, Alex is, he's good.
I know, look, I think it's really interesting whether you are atheist or you're not, or like whether you listen to people who you believe in their ideology or not. Most of these dudes that are talking these things, even if they're grifters that you don't like, they are intelligent, and oftentimes they'll at least expose you to some sort of an angle of an argument that's
He's
worth
young, though,
listening
is
to.
he?
He's oh no,
young, like-
he's not a grifter now at all, Alex. I'm thinking more like lads who are sort of pro Trump or pro this or pro liberal or whatever. But there's usually some interesting stuff if you listen to all of it and try to take it all in and figure out, not even where you stand, it doesn't matter. It's more just to get the different angles of the arguments. So even if you are someone who's quite religious, listening to him is interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And listening to scholars then who are quite religious as well. Like obviously, look, at the
A
end
lot
of
of
the
the time
day,
he has back and forths with him. So
yeah, and it's really interesting to hear that debate. Look, like, we can't find definitive proof of God. You can't find definitive proof, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist or something else doesn't exist. And I think the material world, I would be of the opinion that there has to be more than the material world based on our understanding of even physics and quantum physics. And then when you start all the anecdotal stuff, it's very hard to do fucking 600 episodes of this bullshit.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, not be
Genius.
like, it's all just like...
Yeah, but like, at the end of the day, like, I mean, the fact is that Alex O'Connor will probably be born, live and die,
live again.
and won't convince anyone. Like,
I'd say he might convince some people. You see.
well, sorry, no. Let me rephrase that. He live and die in religion will still be here.
Yeah,
And
yes,
so
yes,
even
yes.
that in and of itself is kind of like the fact that we haven't in a unified way just all gone, yeah, no, there's nothing. Leads you to believe that there is.
I think it's because this thing that we're doing is so implausible anyway, and it makes so little sense. Like down to just like, oh yeah, if you go in the water, there's just a giant fish with steak knife teeth that can eat you. You're like, what? It's just the whole thing is so bizarre and odd and peculiar, and that's before you even start thinking about space and other planets and like dark matter, and like it's all just so, like, I heard a thing recently. So there's what, like 8 billion people in the world.
Something like that.
Apparently that's not true.
Yeah,
Like,
there's like way more, is there?
I don't know if it's way more or way less, but apparently people are like, yeah, we can't actually be sure about this at all. Like,
All right.
So
It's just like rough estimations.
who know? You know, again, I heard that, but did I hear it from a reliable source? Like, but it's all this whole thing.
Yeah, it's mad.
But I think that must be what happens when you go insane. It's like maybe like insanity is actually super sanity, where you're like, yeah, this, like, why is there rules to the, like, this whole thing?
Chaos, man.
Makes
Slugs.
it, but it is also order, and I think that's the thing that's really.
But I
it's
think
like
order is formed from the volatility of the chaos.
possibly, but there
You know.
seems to be order woven into the chaos. In, like, if you think of the biosphere and how everything seems to work.
Yeah, the cohesion. So it is almost cohesive in a way. But
Is it just? Do you think that the
think it's
universe is so much
opposing.
chaos?
yeah, there's like
They're like
opposing
magnets,
energies.
they can-
They're kind of holding it together almost. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, if anyone's interested, actually, the Alex O'Connor fella, he is decent.
Yeah, I think I
couple
watched a
of-
few of his videos. I think they're pretty.
I just thought they were quite interesting, especially if you want to watch sort of content from a more atheist perspective.
yeah.
I think it's very easy to pick apart any religion if you look at it from the very much the, this is what this religion said, this is obviously not true, because that's
Yeah.
easy.
If you go
But-
100% off the scripture,
but
of
yeah,
any
yeah.
religion,
But
they're all
that's
bollocks,
super
like.
easy. But like, I was always of the mind of where I always believed in something a bit more abstract. Perhaps if I do believe in something, it's definitely something that's a bit more abstract and all that. It's not as direct and not as explainable and not as this is what's said in a certain book, if I do believe in anything. So to me, I can appreciate like when atheists say what they're saying, but at the same time I can also appreciate when very religious people say their interpretation, because that's what I basically class those two things as the same thing. It's basically two people who really don't know but have faith in what they believe in, and that's what they're doing. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, great.
Yeah. They have faith in no God rather than a faith in
that's
some sort
that's what I'm saying.
unifying
Like
force,
like the Alex O'Connor fella fully believes in his mantra, and he's like, this is what it's.
Do you think there's a weird thing about like, if that's his sort of platform, you know? Do you think there's a thing that if he finds God, or if he turns heel, somatics, he turns heel, or in this case, face perhaps, is there kind of a thing that will stop him from taking on, because he's built he's built the whole personality?
Yeah, absolutely.
Same as people. I'm always curious about people who are like,
well, you
really
put up walls now
with faith.
I feel like it's harder to sort of go back on anything once you've sort of built a public persona around something that you believe in. Like, it's quite difficult. I mean, look, it is and it isn't. It's on the individual. Personally, I don't really have much shame in saying if I've changed something, or if something can't happen or whatever. I don't really have much shame in saying, like, look, this is the crack. This is what's happening, because I always usually believe in what I'm saying. Well, yes, I know.
I think if we were public figures, like, I can just imagine the scrutiny this podcast would be under if it was like really famous. Like, we'd be getting destroyed constantly. Like, you'd probably loads of people listen to it or whatever.
You wouldn't,
be constantly getting destroyed.
You just
couldn't
turn
pay
it
attention.
out. You just had to turn it out. So, but then, I feel like, you're right. Like the likes of what's his name? Fucking Hawkins, is it? Is the other atheist dude?
Oh, Dawkins.
Dawkins, yeah. They've put up their walls now. The blinkers are on, and I truly do feel like that if there was even something semi compelling about religion that was presented to them, they just wouldn't want to know anyway, because they just can't know, because they're just like, no, I don't want to know. Maybe I'm wrong in that assumption. Like, maybe I don't know.
Well, I think
their
requirement of the evidence would be to such a high level.
Yeah, that just can't.
Yeah, you just can't. You know. And to be fair, look, it's an understandable position to take, fair. To be an atheist.
That's
agnostic seems like the most understandable, and that's probably.
That's where
I wouldn't even say I'm agnostic. I know I feel like there's something else. I just don't know what it is. I don't worship anything or pray to anything. But
I go 50-50. Like, there's days, to be totally truthful, there's days where I'm like, there's nothing.
When I'm done, it's over. Yeah, I guess those days.
And then there's days where I'm just like, oh, okay, maybe there is more to it. A lot of it does seem a bit ego-based to think that there's more to it, though. Seems like it's more like
about
human-centric, ego-centric.
Yeah, I get that.
I do feel a bit sometimes like that.
Yeah, I feel like there might be more, but I don't think we'll have any awareness of it.
Yeah.
I think
which is a shame. It's a bit dark down, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's like,
what's the point?
It's like life is just a roguelite. You know,
it's just like, oh, fuck this.
Yeah, no, but I do get what you mean. Yeah, I love the idea that, like, you know, you might be constantly meeting the same people, you know,
that's cool.
Spirit over and over again, and trying to correct relationships, and, you know, like you're, you know, maybe to what end we're friends. That's a good point as well. Yeah, is it to try to bring in? Is it, if we're all one? Is it to try that the universe is trying, like, war and sort of shittiness and all this sort of stuff? Is it something that, like, if we can sort of unify completely, then the universe can actually be as one, and then we've gotten to the higher place, the maybe place.
That's quite.
But then what's the point in that?
Yeah, that's quite egocentric in my opinion. Now.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Like, it's very all human centric.
Yeah, well, I think,
and that would be then a very religious kind of view.
Yeah,
if it's very human.
And you're explaining what you think the nature of the universe is, in a way that appeals to people. Yeah,
it's actually more likely that
it's chaos.
Well, no, it's more likely that if there was a God, say for example, that, like, he's involved, like, you know, the running of stars and planets is more important to him than humans.
Yeah, that's.
Do you know what I mean? Like, because if you were to think that we're such a small, insignificant, smaller than a grain of sand, little blip in the whole thing, then surely. and we have no evidence of other humans or any.
Well, maybe that's a kind of interesting.
It goes both ways then.
But maybe the reason then, if you look at it that way, is like that actually what God wants is just dusty planets.
Yeah.
He doesn't want us, and we're the last planet
which is
that he's
cool
like,
as well.
fuck off, guys.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that is kind of cool.
But I think it's a story in that.
But I think you're right, Jed. Definitely there, and I think it's very hard because we're a species that are driven on narratives and stories, and so the story of what this is in some way has to appeal to us. Like there's very few movies you would watch that don't appeal on a human level in some way. Like in Rocky, it's like there, as you said, there's an egocentric that where you like, I can be like Rocky. I can get up after I get knocked down.
It's inspirational.
Exactly, yeah. I know there's other movies then that make you feel all weird, but they're good, but they sort of give you the antithesis of that experience.
Ass to ass.
Ass to ass.
Yeah.
I know it's pretty big, man, but I didn't take it out for the air. We get on with this young episode, will we? Oh god.
No, you're right though. But you know, it's. To be honest, I probably get more out of talking to spiritual people than I do about talking to atheists. I'll be honest with you. Just to be entirely truthful, I find it a lot more enriching.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a little bit of comfort in there because the comfort is an ego thing. It's almost like I'll be okay, you know. If
my heart will go on.
Yeah, this feels like it feels good when you're saying that to me because you're talking about the warm, cuddly embrace.
You see, the thing is, we're not
Jeebus.
considering it too much now, but I know for me in the last couple of years, I've been more cognizant of the fact that I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And I'm
Mortality.
But we're halfway through.
It's class.
Like, it's kind of funny because you remember being a kid. We still have dumb toys and Game Boy
Pokemon
coasters and
cards
shit, but we're halfway through. So it's like okay, and then you do get that existential kind of like, well, what's the fucking point in all this? You know?
I watch Marvel films and I'm like, just finish me. I'm done.
Maybe we should just make Mortal Kombat films. Speaking in a finish it, you know?
No, look, I think that's a good little intro into kind of the reincarnation idea because it sets the scene. It is one of those things where it could neither be here nor there. It could be everywhere.
There's an element of like, as above, so below. Like, you watch the plants coming back. You watch everything in existence that isn't, let's say, mobile and alive. So just plants, vegetation.
Sentient.
It keeps coming around like that. So conceivably then we do something similar. Now, it doesn't mean we remember it.
Yeah.
This would argue that we do remember it. But you do kind of, like, you on a very just a purely biological level, your shit will go into the earth and it'll come back out as something else.
Plants do operate very similar to us, though.
Absolutely, yeah.
They have Mickeys, they have minges.
How far?
They come.
1936. Okay.
It'll be a bit different because they come. They
come.
Yeah.
They goon.
Plants goon.
Dude, they don't goon though. They spread the
pollinate,
seed.
of course, yeah, but spread seed. This works the same.
Wanking away.
Their seed goes into the flower. The flower gets pregnant and has flower babies. That's what happens.
Do you ever think that they look at like tits on
they would do.
Look
Sure.
at
Have you ever seen
the
that?
petals on that?
Have you ever seen a camellia on some of them flowers?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like nature, while to us it looks, you're saying plants they come and they go, but like plants actually do operate under a very similar rule set to ours. Like
it seems like all life that we're aware of kind of does to a certain extent. Like, I know some of it be laying eggs or whatever, but generally speaking,
plants breed shit, man. Do you know what I mean? Like they breathe. So like, it is like we are very related to them.
Photosynthesis.
The way that we work is similar-ish.
And they need some sort of nutrients.
Yeah.
Like,
They need to feed.
Are there any plants that don't need? Because you see, like in the desert and stuff like that. Like, how?
So one of the obvious ones is if you give a Venus flytrap soil compost. If you put a Venus flytrap in compost, good potting soil, it will die.
Right.
And the reason is because they evolved to not take nutrients in through their roots like every other plant.
Gotcha.
They evolved to take nutrients through their gob,
predatory,
which is insane when you think about it.
So then, I guess with humans and with animals, we're basically we're biological beings, do whatever, but we've evolved to intake sustenance in different ways.
Calories, burn calories.
Like if we start shoving stuff up our holes for enough years,
that might work.
Will the body be like, yeah, these humans are serious? Start putting teeth on the asshole.
Yeah. Start putting
Really
like
good.
twirls up your arse or Twixes. That'll be
Delicious. Delicious.
That begs the question, actually. I wonder if you did like use a whisper as a suppository, would you like not feel hungry?
I think it just gets absorbed into the
Bloodstream.
rectum, though. It doesn't like get absorbed into the
But
stomach,
it's still
right?
but it's still in the bloodstream.
Still calories.
So like the sugar would be hitting the blood, right?
There's definitely a biologist listening to this now that's going fucking kicking drywall holes into the wall and everything. You fucking idiots.
No, you're right, because it bypasses the liver, it bypasses the pancreas.
So I don't
the
think we can
kidneys.
get the nutrients out of it. Your hole is great for taking on steroids, though.
Yeah.
Like if you put a few suppositories in there.
It's bloodstream, you know. If you're
Yeah.
freebasing.
And that's
free
if you have
whispers.
if you got like esophageal issues,
You put your arse up into your esophagus.
a few cans up your hole. And the thing is, your arse could absorb it so fast you get hammered like by mistake.
Class.
Imagine just putting 6 cans into a funnel at once, going straight into your hoo-ha.
Well, you'd love that. That's like Elysium.
No, you
for
just like vomit and fall. Like you can't drink 6 cans in like.
Would you still like it though? Would you
Arse
like being
time.
drunk if you had to put up your arse to be drunk?
I think.
Would
I
you,
think
like-
after the
would you be
first
bothered?
arse can, it wouldn't bother you as much.
Chug.
Yeah.
What would you bother getting drunk? Is what I'm saying. Like, is it the mouth, like the
mouth
taste,
pleasure.
the experience?
No, the drunkenness is the nice.
Oh, that's
bit,
what you like. All right.
No, I like the whole.
You
I
don't
like
like
it
the
all.
foreplay, like
Uh,
straight up.
well, I'd say you could arguably have better foreplay by teasing your arsehole as you apply liquor.
Oh yeah. Good
So
times.
I'm going to read the intro to Reincarnation now.
Yeah, go on, wait.
Reincarnation, which is also known as rebirth or transmigration, is the belief that after physical death, the non-physical essence of a being, the consciousness, or what some religions would call the soul, continues the existence in a new body, either human, animal, or spiritual. This cycle of rebirth can be seen in various religious and philosophical traditions, particularly Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, and some indigenous and local religions. Yeah. So, for the key concepts, the central idea is that a non-physical entity, which is often referred to as the soul, consciousness, or the spirit, exists beyond the physical body. So, is that in us? Is it around us? Is it tapped into the atmosphere somewhere? But it's a one-to-one relationship, I guess. Or could you have many souls in one body?
Yeah,
Maybe.
probably.
I'm with
Some
possession
lads
and all
have
the
a
rest
couple
of
of
it.
souls, yeah.
Yeah, you could, yeah. And maybe that would explain lots of stuff in society, from mental illness to...
James McAvoy in Split.
He had 12
12
in him,
souls.
12 souls. So the essence is believed to be reborn in a new physical form after death. In many traditions, the nature of the rebirth is influenced by the actions or the karma and the experiences of the previous life. Again, I think to your point earlier, which was made about 20 minutes ago, this seems like an egocentric view of it that applies morals as we know them onto it. I'm not saying it's not true, but it seems to go that way. So good karma may lead to a higher form of rebirth, while negative karma may result in a lower form, like a dung beetle.
Yeah, because I would just say that if we're going down the egocentric route, like I don't mind that if we're going to be saying like, yeah, like we're aware, so we have to be we have to preside over certain things and influence certain things. Like we as humans, because we're aware, we can better our surroundings and be aware of that. Like for example, bastard slugs eating my plants, I can save the plants, but then go on ChatGPT, Alex Connor, then you're going, but the slugs want their dinner.
Do you know?
So why are you more important than the slug?
Yeah, absolutely. What's that Shakespeare quote? Nothing is good or evil, but thinking makes it so, and rationalizing is the devil. You can kind of make an argument for anything if your mind can kind of tilt it in a certain way.
But like, is a slug, which is more sentient,
I get you,
than a plant, should probably be more important than a plant.
Yeah, but But obviously not to
mollusk
you. So the interesting thing
quandary.
there is it's not to you because the plant is more important than the slug. So then what it needs is a universal tier
truth.
system.
Yeah.
And I think that's obviously what we don't have as humans.
But we do, because I can grow slug lettuce and feed the slugs.
So why don't you?
But then I suppose if we're going to rationalize it, then I'm bringing lettuce to life to feed to a slug.
But the whole nature of the universe is for life to feed on life.
True.
And we mimic that in ways that aren't necessary.
And if the lettuce only exists
consumption.
because I am giving birth to it to feed a slug,
Are you responsible for the lettuce then? So
Yeah.
that you need to protect it from the slugs.
or vice versa, is it okay because the lettuce wouldn't have been born without me and it's only being born for the purpose of a slug?
In which case, is it okay to birth a child to use its pieces to fix someone who's much older for blood transfusions and stuff?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But a child and lettuce are two different things.
Let us know.
I do get confused sometimes by that, but child and lettuce are
But
different.
it is a mad thing, isn't it? Because and this is why I think these questions could make you into a lunatic.
Yeah.
Because there's no right answer, and if you try to make the answer, you'll drive yourself nuts.
Yeah.
And I think the only logical way to approach it is to go, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do.
Yeah, and
That's the only logical way.
And the other thing is, there's plants that a child could eat the berry of and die.
Should you
So
plant them?
is the slug the savior?
If the slug eats the berry,
Or eats the plant that has the berries and kills it?
is it down to the intention? Your intention is to create a nice garden, and the slugs are at odds with your goal. So because of the virtue of your goal, it enables you to kill the slugs. However, if you had a stone garden and you just started stomping slugs, is that
That's
in
true.
some way more amoral
is,
or immoral rather than just to get them right? Because there's a reason to remove the slugs. But if you were just killing them for nothing other than your own, but then maybe the most exalted and
It is
best
for
way
your
to
own
be
pleasure.
is to do as
stamp on
thou will.
slugs.
Yeah, I think
That's what
these
Alistair
are-
Crowley would tell you.
Yeah,
He'd be like, stamp on the slugs.
I think that life yields short-term results, but Alistair Crowley apparently was miserable in the end of his life, and he realised he had squandered decades,
Yeah.
and he was still just fucking. He just had a wife and a kid at the end of his life. Why was I off wanking myself around the clock and chafing out? What's the point?
He was the original gooner.
Yeah. He would have found it easier to goon with the technology we have nowadays.
He
Now
would,
we're
yeah.
all just Alistair Crowley. Now this thing right here.
Yeah.
Alistair
Rookie
Crowley.
numbers, Alistair.
Yeah,
Get your head up.
Alistair. Hey, Alistair. Dope. Anyway, you're going to tell us about some of the various religious beliefs in reincarnation.
So the old Hindus.
Class.
Now, the Hindus, they believe in a cycle of rebirth called samsara, where the soul Atman is reborn into different forms based on karma, with the ultimate goal of achieving moksha, which is liberation. Now,
John Moxa.
the old Hindus love a bit of caste system, so like
that
makes sense. The fact that they're like,
It's class.
they're like, after you die, you're not escaping your caste, bitch. You have to get your karma up, or you're going back into your fucking pleb caste.
Send Bob's and Vagine.
Some lads,
Bad karma.
they just love going around molesting. I'd heard more stories about that. There's just molesting casually.
Just
Grabbing.
grab a tease.
Having a grab.
Yeah.
It's just different culturally. Just a bit of a grab.
Different cultures, you guys.
What
would happen if you went to India as a honky and just started grabbing TNA?
Don't want to be giving anyone ideas.
No, I certainly don't. I'm asking it a cure. Same as I was wondering who was morally right for growing a plant and killing slugs. It is weird that in this day and age, still parts of the world just don't respect women.
Oh yeah, like in Egypt, like if you go around Egypt, you're getting molested.
It's bizarre though, isn't it?
It isn't. I mean, I was molested 2-3 weeks ago in the pub again. I get molested fairly often when I go out.
Nice though.
I don't mind.
That's nice because you're 6'5" and you can choose whether the molesting is going to stop or not.
Well, I don't mind.
I think for a
getting
5'2" woman, it's a very different circumstance.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
It's a mad, but it is. I like. you kind of assume with the values we have that men would just naturally protect women. Do you know what I mean? Like that, like what you hate lads who beat women. We hate them. We hate them in the same way as we hate like rapists and murderers and pedophiles and all that. Like, you know,
In the West, yeah.
in the West, yeah. And then over other places, they're like, how can she slap? You know, like, it's just, I don't know. I find it really hard to. We talk about unifying karma and all the rest of it.
But that's kind of a bit
exist.
of like, that's what, when we were talking about Last of Us and Minifils, like, that's kind of a bit of what I was getting at, is like, yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, in other cultures, like, where it's a bit more rough and fucking tumble, like, you know, it's not happening. Like, that ain't happening. It's just not happening.
Desi housewife better have the
It's just
meal
not-
already. Like,
It's just none of that's happening. Like, they're not meeting up for little cute conversations and all. It ain't happening. Like, it's just, it would have never,
ain't happening.
it would have never gotten off
It
the
ain't
ground.
happening. It ain't happening today. No, it ain't happening.
It would have never have gotten off the ground at all. It was
Can
just,
you imagine, like,
Last
living
of
in
Us
the
just
middle?
wouldn't happen. Like, if it was Last of Us India,
Daddy, I feel like a girl.
it's not happening.
It ain't happening. It ain't happening. But Daddy, I feel like a girl.
It's not happening. It's not happening.
But it's only a matter of time before
No.
that eventually, because
No, it won't.
either
It won't.
we're all going to be living under Sharia
We
law,
are. Yeah,
or
we are.
everyone's going to be
we
like.
are. We are.
You think that's the way it's
Yeah.
going? Mm-hmm. Well, I suppose the Hindus.
I'm
would
all
be-
for it, brother. Alhamdulillah, son. Do you know?
Yeah, but that's grand. He's 6'5"
Yeah, I'm
white
for it,
lad.
yeah.
What about the poor bitches? What about the ladies out there?
Not
You know, we have to worry about the
Chinese women,
ladies,
you've got to
man.
watch out, son. Jainism. No, Buddhism. Oh, yeah, no. They believe in samsara. We talked
Buddhists are
about that.
sound, yeah. No,
Jainism.
that was Hinduism or samsara as well.
Oh, right, yeah. Buddhists have samsara too. Mm-hmm.
Samsara is the opposite of Nirvana.
Oh.
So they're a pop band rather than a grunge band.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the one.
True.
How can she hit?
Yeah, samsara, where the consciousness of a being is reborn into different forms based on its karma, with the ultimate goal of achieving enlightenment and liberation. See, the only thing about that for me is just that there's no awareness of the previous life. Like, I like that and I dislike that. I like it in one way because, yeah, there's no awareness, so you may be your best, you ballocks, but also...
Maybe it's the metaphysics of brain chemistry. So when you come back as a serial killer,
True.
in your last life you were, but then how can the serial killer live? I used to be a serial killer, but now I have a poster that says "Live, laugh, love" in my fucking kitchen.
Yeah, that
Do you
makes
know?
it better though.
Yeah, but this is it.
Jainism holds that the soul is reborn into various forms of life. So you might be human, you might be an animal, you might be an inanimate object like a chair. Based on
I hope I come back as a chair. So dudes can just sit on me all day.
The accumulation of karma, and the ultimate goal again is to achieve liberation from the cycle of rebirth. Break out. It's interesting that other religions and traditions, some indigenous and local religions, as well as certain spiritual movements, also incorporate beliefs in reincarnation or rebirth. Now, books and all, Eamon.
Books and all. So I wasn't aware of this book, but in 1966 a book was released by Ian Stevenson called 20 Cases Suggestive of Reincarnation.
Yep.
So this lad was a... Yeah, sorry about that there. Daddy, you did a batch. You have no manners.
Rude, man.
Sorry about that, lads.
Yeah.
The gaseous clay. He was a psychiatrist, and basically the book claims spontaneous recall of information about previous lives by young children. The book focuses on 20 cases investigated by the author, and it's been translated into 7 foreign languages. So I think the reason I drew comparisons to Raymond Moody was he was advocating for another kind of quasi-spiritual idea, but he was a psychiatrist as well, wasn't he? Or he was a psychologist or
One of
something.
them lads.
Doctor.
Same difference.
Dr. Moody. Aging Dr. Moody.
It's not on the brain. All right.
You have to help my son. He thinks he is a girl.
I had 2 fucking when I was having a mental health crisis, I had 2 Pakistani fucking psychiatrists, like, and I may as well have been talking to a fucking wall. I was like, they were just looking at me going, but sure, why don't you?
He has the ADHD.
Why don't you sort it out? And you're like, man. Like, but
it's so easy to be a psychiatrist when that's your only response you need to
but
say.
it was like literally like the advice was like piss poor.
So lads come in there like with like clear chemical issues like schizophrenia.
It
or
just
bipolar,
made me
like,
think. My takeaway was like, oh, like culturally and psychologically, we're just totally different.
Yeah.
Like, so much so that they can't offer decent
So,
psychological advice to me, or I can't.
So when you went down and you were like, these are my issues, there's like, sort it out.
terrible,
Really?
basically, and I was just looking at him kind of blank face, going,
But I can't sort it out.
no, it
That's
was like,
why I'm here.
literally the same advice that like your like alcoholic uncle would give you if you went in to say like, here, I'm having like, do you know, or like some lad, like some bar fly down at the bar, you're like, here man, help me out there.
Lads who have the
Have
answers to everything.
Have another pint there.
But they're
You're all
holding
right,
up the
Grant.
bar.
Cool. Thanks.
That
for
is a
It was-
winning short-term
but like,
strategy.
It was literally advice like that, and you were going,
From doctors.
and that was from two of them, and I was just like, when I went home and thought about it, I was like, do you know what? Actually, yeah, it must be just a cultural thing. Like that's like it had to be because.
But if you're
it was
employed
just
as
so-
a doctor, one would think that you have like kind of a template that you need to follow.
But you see, a lot of the doctors in Ireland studied in, say, Pakistan or India, so it's like totally like their mental health studies would be just totally different. Not better or worse, but just totally different. Like,
Yeah.
like even religiously, spiritually, it's all coming from a different place. Like, so trying to
Culturally,
apply the same kind of bits.
You just
it's
imagine.
just a
So
bit-
what would happen like if
But
you
also,
went in?
the flip side is like, you know, these motherfuckers are growing up in like Bangladesh and all, where like cows reading out of skips. And then I'm trying to be relatable to them. Like, I feel bad because I'm like, these motherfuckers came up hard and here they are as a doctor in Ireland. Like, fair play to them.
I have these
and then
feelings that are
whinging
difficult
about
to
some
navigate.
crap.
It's like,
Yeah. Good.
Just
what
don't
is
do
wrong
it.
with you? And you're like, all right, man.
just think of something else.
But yeah, but you're like, all right, man. You know, so it's kind of, there is a weird vibe there with it, you know?
Yeah, no, I get that.
You know what
It's
I'm
a bit of a
saying?
weird thing, yeah.
Strange, like. But anyway.
Anyway.
Get back to the fucking mad
Stevenson,
shit.
Ian Stevenson.
Yeah.
He describes his general approach as following an almost conventional pattern. So this is all the reincarnated children. He says, the case usually starts when a small child of about 2 to 4 years of age begins talking to their parents or siblings of a life they led in another time and place. The child usually feels a considerable pullback towards the events of the life, and he frequently importunes his parents to let them return to the community where they claim that they had formerly lived. If the child makes enough particular statements about previous life, the parents, usually reluctantly, begin inquiries about their accuracy. Often, indeed usually, such attempts at verification do not occur until several years after the child has begun to speak of the previous life. If some verification results, members of the two families visit each other and ask the child whether they recognize certain places, objects, and people of their supposed previous existence. Stevenson set up a network of volunteers to find these spontaneous past life recall cases as soon as the children began to speak of them. He then would carefully question both the family of the living child and the family of the deceased to ensure that they had no contact and that no information would be passed between them. He would obtain detailed information about the deceased, including information not fully known to anyone involved, such as details of the will that he would use to verify that the child actually did know the information required. In 1977, the Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease, nervous disease, remember what was that? Suffering from your nerves.
Yeah, that's true.
Just get the handle on your nerves.
Listen, Indian man.
Most of the issue of Stevenson's work, in which psychiatrist Harold Leaf describes Stevenson as methodical, thank you, careful, even cautious as an investigator whose personality is on the obsessive side, either he is making a colossal mistake or he will be known as the Galileo of the 20th century.
Exciting.
So, obviously, as you can imagine, this fella had a lot of detractors that said, this isn't real, it's blah, blah, blah. There wasn't really anything in there that was interesting. It was just, I thought that was an interesting quote where the guy said, like, he's either fucking up or actually he's way ahead of his time.
Well, it's like the NDEs and all that, right? It's like, if there was a way to quantify him and be like, yeah, you know, then that's that. But it's the same as this, where, if, like I said at the start of the episode, if you had a kid and you're out walking with them And they're like, oh yeah, I know this spot. And you're like, all right, okay, why are you bust that?
What do you think will happen to Alex O'Connor if he has a kid who talks about past life regression? And then, do you know,
That'd probably be, I would say that would be the moment.
he
that-
goes,
Well, you can't really rationalize something like that. You know, that's why
No.
it is irrational, because it's
not
like,
if you can uncover it.
no, like if there is, yeah, like you said, if you can uncover it, if you can find or corroborate evidence with someone else that what this kid is saying happened, and we've had write-ins about this, I think, a long time ago, because we've talked about this stuff before, but not as in depth. But if you have anything where it's like, oh yeah, like that's it, sure, that's it, like that would be enough for me to believe in something like that. Same way as like if I had a compelling NDA, I would be like, okay,
Yeah.
like there would be enough evidence there. Like I've said it before in the NDA episode where I've had the whole life flash before my eyes thing, but that doesn't feel really spiritual or feel anything like anything. It just feels like, yeah, it's something or anything. I like the explanation of that's just your brain trying to grasp out
find
for
a
something.
solution, yeah.
I like that. That makes sense to me. But yeah, if you had something like that, sure, you'd have to think that you just go like, oh yeah, well, I guess I believe in that shit now.
yeah.
Like I'm a convert. So to go on to handing the torch, Dr. Tucker was a child psychiatrist in a private practice when he heard about reincarnation research being conducted by Ian Stevenson, founder and director of the Division of Perceptual Studies at UVA. He was intrigued and began working with the division in 1996. 6 years later, when Dr. Stevenson retired, Dr. Tucker took over as leader of the division's past life research. What a fucking title for research.
Pretty good, isn't it?
The UVA team has gathered more than 2,500 documented cases of children from all over the world who have detailed memories of former lives, including that of a Californian toddler with a surprisingly good golf swing who said he had once been legendary athlete Bobby Jones, a Midwestern 5-year-old who shared some of the same memories and physical traits: blindness in his left eye, a mark on his neck, a limp as a long-deceased brother, and a girl in India who woke up one day and began speaking fluently in a dialect she'd never heard before. Right, okay. Dr. Tucker describes these cases in his book, Return to Life, Extraordinary Cases of Children Who Remember Past Lives. I must get that book. The problem that I have with these books, and I had the same with the Moody book that I read, was like, yeah, it's 100% compelling, and you're like, oh, if this is true, I believe it 100%. But again, it's like reading the Bible or like reading anything. It's like,
You can't prove
well, you're just taking it at face value. Like, you know, you don't, at the end of the day, it's all anecdote. So for me, unless
because
it's
how would we even measure this?
For me, unless it's direct and someone says
Unless it's
something
happened to
directly
you.
to me, then I'm like, okay, I would believe. Obviously, if you talk face to face with enough people, you might get a grasp.
What do
of
you
it,
think
but-
then of, like, say the UAP stuff? People who've been saying they're seeing flying saucers for years, and now it's like, oh yeah, there's a load of weird stuff up in the skies.
I still don't think we're conclusive on that.
No, I don't think we are either.
No, so
Like,
that's,
I think
I'm
it's
still the same on
It's
that.
a
too.
weird thing where it's like, it seems to be, oh, right, there is stuff there, but we just don't know if we've made these massive.
I think all the
improvements.
UFOs, UAPs, I think all that's quite explainable if you want to, you know, some of it. I think it's tricky. I think I ebb and flow with my views
It's a
on
tricky
that
one.
kind of one.
It's interesting because it's one where, like, there seems to be evidence. Now, again, I haven't seen one,
No.
so I don't know.
Yeah, again, it's anecdote.
Yeah,
By and
yeah.
large.
Except that we do have evidence.
Yeah.
Or at least we think we have
Some.
evidence. In a world where AI is everywhere and you can Photoshop everything, you're like, well, do we have evidence of anything?
So now, the children in this UVA collection typically began talking about their previous lives when they were 2 or 3 years old and stopped around the age of 6 or 7. I believe actually the only brother Richard in his episode with us was talking about those ages.
You're
as
still
being-
kind of metaphysically connected in a way. Yeah, that's true.
So he goes on to say, that is around the same time that we all lose our memories of early childhood, Dr. Tucker says. When he first learns about a subject, he checks for fraud, deliberate or unconscious, by asking 2 questions, which are, do the parents seem credible? And could the child have picked up the memories through TV? Could they have overheard conversations? or did they have any other ordinary means of picking up stuff? If he can rule out fraud, he and his team interviewed a child and his or her family to get a detailed account about the previous life. Then the researchers try to find the deceased person whose life matches the memories. This last part is essential because otherwise the child's story would be just a fantasy. I've talked about the story many a time on the pod, but my brother would have been of this age when he was singing that song in the car to my granddad, who, when my granddad was a child, was minded by his older sister who died young, who sang the same song to him. Just a moment that my granddad always said was something very unusual. But yeah, my brother would have been that age. Close to 3/4 of the cases investigated by the team are solved, meaning that a person from the past matching the child's memories is identified. Right, that's actually fairly crazy, right?
Yeah, it's
3/4 of them are lined up with something. Again, if this is to be true, if to be believed to be true. In addition, nearly 20% of the kids in the UVA cases have naturally occurring marks or impairments that match scars or injuries on the past person.
I have a birthmark here, which looks like I taught myself before.
Sausage Creed, no, that's where your wrist blade was in. For Sausage Creed.
Possible. Grandfather!
One boy who recalled being shot possessed 2 birthmarks, one large, ragged one over his left eye, and a small, round one at the back of his head, which lined up like a bullet's entrance and exit wounds.
That's kind of interesting.
Well, yeah, it's to speculate a little bit. Yeah, I mean, look, I think anyone would have to believe in this type of stuff. I'm just looking at it going, yeah, I mean, if it was compelling enough, sure, it would turn your Alex O'Connors of the world.
For sure, especially if you had your own...
Yeah, personal one.
Yeah, that would perfectly like turn you. So anyway, some stories. So one of the well-known reincarnation stories is the case of an Oklahoma boy named Ryan. At 4 years old, he woke up screaming at 2 a.m. Over the preceding months, he'd been pleading with his bewildered mother, Cindy, to take him to the house where he'd lived before. In tears, he'd beg her to return him to his glittering life in Hollywood, complete with a big house, a pool, and fast cars. It was so fabulous, he once said, "I can't live in these conditions. My last home was much better."
No.
That's a funny one. So when Cindy went into her son's room that night, Ryan kept repeating the same words, "Mommy, I'm so homesick," as she tried to comfort him and rock him to sleep. He was like a little old man who couldn't remember all the details of his life, she said. He was so frustrated and sad. The next morning, she went to the library, borrowed a pile of books about old Hollywood, and brought them home. With Ryan in her lap, Cindy went through the volumes. She was hoping that the pictures might soothe him. Instead, he became more and more excited. Excuse me, I did a yawn there. He became more and more excited as they looked at one particular book. When they came to a still of a scene from a 1932 movie called Night After Night, he stopped her. He said, "Mama," and he pointed to one of the actors who wasn't identified. "That guy is me. That's the old me."
Oh.
I was shocked, Cindy admits. I never thought that we'd find the person he thought he was, but she was equally relieved. Ryan had talked about his other life and he'd been so unhappy, and now he had something to go on. Although neither Sydney nor her husband believed in reincarnation, she went back to the library the next day and checked out books about children who'd possessed memories of their past lives. At the end of this book was a note from the author, Professor Jim Tucker, saying that he wanted to hear from the parents of kids with similar stories. So Cindy sat down and wrote him a letter.
Oh.
In the case of Ryan, the boy who was longing for this Hollywood past, an archivist pored over books in a film library until she found the person who appeared to be the man he'd singled out. Hollywood agent Marty Martin.
Oh, no.
It's a good name, huh? He made an unbilled cameo in Night After Night. After Sydney spoke with Dr. Tucker, he interviewed Ryan, and then the family contacted Martin's daughter. She met with Dr. Tucker, Ryan and Cindy, and along with public records, she confirmed more than 50 details that Ryan had reported about her father's life, from his work history to the location and contents of his home. Cindy felt tremendous relief when she was told that her son's story matched Martin's. And she said he wasn't crazy. He actually had another family.
I mean,
It's kind of fun.
yeah, assuming the parents aren't fucking mental.
Yeah, they could be making a load of bullshit out of it, like Amityville or something like that.
But
I guess
if
I've
they're
given
not,
away what I think about Amityville.
yeah, if they're not, then
If the story is to be
at face
believed, and if
value.
it's exactly as saying. Now again, there's loads of stories about people seeing Bigfoot.
yeah,
Loads of stories about people seeing Loch Ness. These could all be shite.
Yeah.
They could be misinterpretations, or
one of them could be
is
true.
there some sort of a unifying reality, right? So we have a reality that generally is what's real. If the quantum is all based on probability, is it possible that these little bubbles of improbable things can happen, and for that family they're real, but they can't sort of manifest for us all because it's just everything's probable? So even just like if you think about it, probability, that would mean that everything that's possible does happen. We're just not always there to witness it.
True.
And everything that's possible would be anything that you can think of and more.
True, or they're just telling the truth.
Or they're just telling the truth.
Like,
Or this just happens to some people sometimes.
yeah, but like, you know, the thing is with that is like, you know, these things are obviously not universal just by the virtue of the fact that we're talking about them on a
They don't happen to
obscure
everybody, yeah.
podcast.
Podcast about muckmen.
But yeah, so then you're asking, why is it only happening to certain people? And then
Or did we know this and we just, for whatever reason, when young Irish children from the age of 1 to 4, their parents just they beat out the reincarnated memories of them. So did we, like, I would, because I don't really remember much. None of us do. It's like a dream. Like, you don't really remember much.
Yeah, and
of, like,
and is like you developing speech as a child, you doing all this as a child, is that like a reincarnation thing rather than you're just picking up stuff via the people around you?
It's
You're
hard to
actually
know.
learning from a past life.
Now, I know that people
some
would
really
say, like,
fucked up,
because your
crazy
brain
shit.
isn't developed the part that makes memories and blah, blah, blah. That's very convenient.
Oh,
when I try to talk about reincarnation, isn't it? That's very convenient science.
The Dalai Lama, born in Seattle in 1991,
Good year to be
Sonam
born.
Wangdu, was only 2 years old when he realized he was actually the fourth reincarnation of the original Tibetan Lama.
That's handy.
Lama is the Tibetan word for guru. Dejung Rinpoche Wan. The realization was the culmination of a number of signs that had been accumulating since before the boy was even born. These included the visions of his mother and her own Lama, as well as the words of the third reincarnation of Dejung himself, Dejung Rinpoche III, who informed his acolytes in 1987, the year of his death, that I will be reborn in Seattle. That's mad.
Yeah, he knew all the cool
And he
music
joined
was
a
about to
grunge
come out.
band.
He was like,
Jeremy,
class. Bleaches out in 2
Dalai
years.
Lama spoke out to acolytes today. So in 1996, the boy, who by then only answered to the name Trulku La,
I will tell you this, so if my kid, I'll beat that.
Yeah,
my kid is, I'll be like,
definitely.
will you just shut up,
You need a bed
eat
out
your
and-
potatoes and shut up.
stop messing, left his family forever to be raised by monks while studying Buddhism in Kathmandu, Nepal. Definitely not at base camp. And eventually the head of the monastery there. He became one. Arriving in Nepal, dressed in gold and maroon robes, purple and gold, and riding on a luggage cart pushed by his mother, the little Lama smiled widely, reported Seattle Met in a 2016 follow-up story. I think I remember this.
Really?
Yeah. When asked how long he would stay in Nepal, though, the little boy was serene, almost stoic. Lots of time, he said. I'm just going to stay here a long time. And that has been proven to be true. The boy is now in his 23rd year of his life as the fourth reincarnation of Dejung Rinpoche the first.
And that was at the time of writing this. So I was like 91, so
Oh
he's
my
like 30, 40 years or whatever he's doing now.
So, I mean, my obvious thought is that the parents like put him up to it, but
You wouldn't imagine, like, is there much money to be made from being a Dalai Lama?
well, like You're the Dalai Lama.
Like if you could find, like, think of it, right? So
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix dead and all, right?
Yeah.
Could you just be like, make your kid good at guitar and just train him in Jimi Hendrix type guitar playing, and then just say, here, start saying that you've got these memories of Jimi Hendrix. So many biographies of Jimi Hendrix, you could probably get a load of information together and just be like, we're in this together, boy. And then
You probably could, like.
yeah. Do you know?
I mean, you know. I don't see why you couldn't. We haven't had the reincarnation of Elvis yet.
I'd say we've had a few of them, but none of them have ever really, you know.
That's true,
The
too.
match has never struck.
So, yeah, so that's true too. That's another angle to it where you're like, if the reincarnations don't land properly.
I'd say there's a lot of that shit going
Yeah.
on where someone's
So,
like, I'm the
opportunity.
reincarnation of Paul Bearer. You know, like, but seriously, like, think about it, like,
Yeah.
and there's people who are so fanatical and unhinged that anything that they were into, like, if you could emulate a musician or a painter or whatever, and you're just like, yeah, I'm actually the reincarnation of him. I'm trying not to take as much heroin as he did.
True.
You know, it's I don't know. Maybe we missed a trick with that.
What's the next one, Eamon? Fill us in.
So the next one is a TV producer who he taught Dr. Tucker about the best known reincarnation. This one actually, this is the story I had originally heard that inspired these stellar notes. In 2002, he was contacted to work for and appear on a show about reincarnation. Now, this particular program was never aired, but it was told about James Leininger, a 4-year-old Louisiana boy who believed that he was once a World War II pilot who had been shot down over Iwo Jima.
True.
Bruce and Andrea Leininger first realised that James had these memories when he was 2 and woke from a nightmare yelling, "Airplane crash! Plane on fire! Little man
shit.
can't get out!"
Oh, fuck.
Yes, that's my 2-year-old's emulation there. He also knew details about World War II aircraft that would seem impossible for a toddler to know. To be fair, I remember my niece when she was 2. If she turned around and was like, F-18 on fire, I'd be like, whoa, what the fuck? So for instance, when Andrea referred to an object on the bottom of a toy plane as a bomb, James corrected her by saying it was the drop tank. Another time, he and his parents were watching a History Channel documentary, and the narrator called a Japanese plane a Zero. James insisted that it was actually a Tony, and in both cases, he was right.
No.
The boy said that he had also been named James in his previous life, and that he'd flown off a ship named the Natoma. The Leiningers discovered a World War II aircraft carrier called the USS Natoma Bay. In its squadron was a pilot named James motherfucking Houston.
Oh, shit.
And he had been killed in action over the Pacific. James talked incessantly about this plane crashing, and he was disturbed by nightmares for a few weeks. His desperate mother contracted past life therapist Carol Bowman for help. So she's making good coin for herself.
life therapist.
Yeah, hilarious, right? Now it's going to be a
Red flags
$500
now.
down payment, and then
Red flags now were
of course. Bowman told Andrea not to dismiss what James was saying and to assure him that whatever happened had occurred in another life and another body, but he was safe now. James followed her advice, and his dreams diminished. His parents co-authored Soul Survivor, a 2009 book about their family story. Probably. So there's Professor French, who's familiar with Dr. Tucker's work, says, "The main problem with this investigating is that the research typically begins long after the child has accepted as a genuine reincarnation by his or her family and friends."
Parents are wankers.
Yeah, basically. So about James Leininger, he says, "Although his parents insisted they never watched World War II documentaries or talked about military history, we do know that at 18 months of age, James was taken to a flight museum where he was fascinated by the World War II planes."
At 18 months old.
Yeah, I don't like...
What's all this about?
I don't know, man. These children must be even more,
Must be
more
fucking
intellectually...
No, they're just groomed into fucking saying bullshit, like.
Probably, yeah.
Well, this one in particular now. I don't know about the others, but...
Well, he's saying in all probability the additional details were unintentionally implanted by his
Yeah,
parents.
that's what I think. I think
by a
intentionally.
counsellor... Getting sleepy. And by a counsellor who was a firm believer in reincarnation. Dr. Tucker says that he has additional documentation for many of James Leninger's statements. They were made before anyone in the family had heard of James Houston or the USS Natoma Bay. And I suppose at the time as well, it's not like the internet was really easy. 96, 97.
Well,
yeah.
Number shite, Anna.
Yeah. And you could make the same argument that nowadays the
Jeeves.
same is true. French responds that children's utterances are often ambiguous and open to interpretation. For example, perhaps James said something that just sounded a bit like Natoma. So Bruce Leninger, the father, he understands French's disbelief. He says, I was the original skeptic. But the information James gave us was so striking and unusual. If someone wants to look at the facts and challenge them, they're welcome to examine everything we have. Bruce laughs at the idea that he and his wife planted the memory, saying, you try telling a 2-year-old what to believe, you're not going to be able to give them a script. That's actually a fair point as well. And with that, there's a few cases of reincarnation.
Satan or Satan? Reincarnation. What in Tarnation?
I think it's happening. What in Tarnation is reincarnation. Yeah, I think there's cases of it.
It's a fascinating area of like thing because do you know there's whole sects of people that believe in it.
Yeah,
so like
absolutely. I think it would be hard, as you said before, if your own kids started coming up to you with this stuff.
Oh yeah, forget
you'd
it.
You'd be
then.
like, oh yeah,
forget it then.
So it's very similar to like, you know, when we talk about Bigfoot sightings and all the rest of it. I think it is similar in that. Similar way in that we've said of Bigfoot sightings, we suspect that the majority of people believe they've seen something, whether they actually have or they haven't. Whereas with this, it's if they are telling the truth, it's impossible to be getting it wrong.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Not very interesting, very compelling.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Let us know, lads, if anyone has any similar stories.
Yeah, well, it is funny because, like I was saying, my cousin, while it wasn't as, you know, sort of extravagant as the stories we've read, he did have that thing where he was like, you know, my real mother and father, and it did, this, you know, would have happened way before I was aware that children can reincarnate, and that the age, I didn't know that the age until I did the notes for this, but he would have been within that age realm, and they did find the foundations of an old house in Waterford, so, you know, bit shite to be reincarnated up the road from where you were originally born, maybe, but
welcome.
You're
to
not seeing
Ferrybank.
much of the world, yeah. If you thought it was cool in Slieve Roo, you're never going to guess how crazy it could get in Ferrybank. Some say it's Kilkenny, most say it's Waterford.
Right, sure, we'll leave it there because I'm fucking wrecked.
Yeah, man, I have to go home.
Shagged. Big
Goon
shag.
off for a few hours before I can go to sleep.
I fucking wrecked. We had 2 long ones today, though. We had 2, like, we had to go
We did
chat
have 2
before.
long ones, yeah. And then, like,
We had to go chat
I was up at
beforehand.
7 in the morning
Same.
driving Miss Daisy around the place,
Same,
and then had to
yeah, it
drive
was-
back from Dublin, and you poor heart.
Yeah, you'd be rock up, sure.
You'd be tired, like, and I'm not drinking, I'm not smoking. It's
Crap.
kind of wondering what the point is in anything, really. At certain points. And,
I'm too happy now to care about anything.
no, you're getting so happy you're starting to come back on yourself now. You're so happy. and
I've
you've-
achieved
You've
enlightenment.
calibrated to the dopamine levels, and you're like, there's no more dopamine for happiness.
So yeah, so look, we'll leave it there, folks. Hope you appreciated this episode. Hope you liked it. It's a good one. I enjoyed it. I think it's a fun topic.
It is, and like we'll probably do some more
yeah.
stories of reincarnation. Like think them, the likes of NDEs, reincarnation, glitches in the
interesting
Matrix,
for us.
all those stuff is. We must do some more glitches in the Matrix. They
I'd
were
like
fun.
to do, yeah. Yeah, and listeners, send in stuff if you've heard any. I'm off to bed anyway. Hope you have a nice sleep as well.
Yeah, go to bed.
Does anyone want to sleep?
Would you sleep?
Look.
How much do you think they'd pay to just watch us doze off here for a
I
few
could.
hours?
I probably could right now.
I remember there was some
Do you want me
Twitch.
to-
I saw an interview with some Twitch girl, and she was saying like she had 10,000
Yeah, maybe we'll do
listeners, but then she got 25,000 to just watch her sleep.
that. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. We'll just sleep.
15,000 creeps.
I remember one time back in the day when I had a YouTube, when a video game YouTube,
pull the balls off yourself.
Yeah, on YouTube.
Is the live stream off, you guys?
No, me and one of my mates were recording. He's in the States. Like, shouts out Bobby if he's listening. And we were playing anyway, like, and chatting, like, and he just fell asleep. And he was just snoring down the microphone, and I was just talking to him, like, I was like interviewing him as he was asleep for the crack, like. But yeah, just totally asleep. So maybe we'll do that, you know.
Nice to just sleep. Just thinking about going to bed. No, just
class, isn't it? Sleep is class.
blankets, just wrapping
CPAP.
yourself in the blanket. Oh, I only recently changed the old sheets and everything, so it's just
How often do you change your sheets? Once a month or something, probably.
probably. I'm lucky. Why do you change them every week?
Yeah, once a week. Yeah.
I think that's fucking nuts.
I have a dust allergy. I have to.
Yeah, I don't have that, so I can
You just be stinky, dirty bitch.
just pull out a mattress.
Manky.
If you hit my bed, just dust
Well,
particles.
we know, you know, it's been a while since we talked about you're a bit of a wook, so you would have kind of wook tendencies.
You're washing all the good bacteria off your body. You'll never survive. Your immunity is shot.
Bless this immunity. Yeah, no, I used to not do that when I was like a smelly stoner wook back in the day, but
Yeah.
I'm sort of enlightened now.
Once a week seems excessive. I'd be
Cleanliness
like,
is
every
next to
couple of
godliness,
weeks, you know?
Edmund, you know.
That's egocentric way of thinking about bed hygiene.
No, I like clean.
No, I
beds,
understand.
But yet, here we are.
I understand. I don't agree. I just
Well,
understand.
your sheets are made out of fucking papyrus or something, anyway, are they?
Yeah, my sheets, there's a wax residue on your body when you take them off in the morning.
Your sheets get up to let you out of the room in the morning. They open the door for you. All right, brother.
All right, son.
Well, how you getting on, man? I'll let you out there.
I was like, do you need to be changed? No, I'm grand, man. Don't worry about changing me till at least July, I'd say.
Sentient sheets.
Yeah. Am I sweating much? Not at all,
You're
son.
all right, man.
You're cool as a cucumber in there.
Here,
It would be really upsetting if you had like a Wexford accented sheet.
Do you want me to wipe your skitties off you, son?
Yeah.
Your arse is looking a bit manky, brother. Do you want me to wipe you?
That's time for me. Yeah. Oh, no. Skin marks. Skin
Don't be
marks.
getting on me with your big crusty hole again, son. No,
Have a
boy.
shower, will you dirty cunt? Fuck's sake.
Yeah, you're grungy old sheets now. It's terrible.
My sheets are like drywall.
I'd say they are.
It's
now.
true, man.
You dirty bastard, bye. Can't get over that now. I'm upset with
No,
you.
but see, what I do is I usually sleep in 3 different beds every night. So
Well, that's true.
technically, I'm changing them.
That
every
is
week.
true. You're kind of putting them on
I go,
rotation.
I might sleep in the spare room tonight, and then I go,
Maybe
I sleep
Dublin.
on the couch today.
And then you
Might
go,
go
maybe
to
Dublin.
Dublin next
Yeah.
week.
So that Dublin fucking bed now, seen some shit.
I'd say it has.
All them Brazilians and all. How many
There's
Brazilians have
been,
slept in them
there's
fucking
been like
sheets?
a decade and a half of lads in there. Like I know, you know,
Yeah,
there's a lot of fucking. I'd say there was a lot
a lot of turnover in there.
like lads turning over on
Literally.
their belly. Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff like
Still the
that.
fella from Azerbaijan still up there.
No, he's gone back
Is
to
he?
Azerbaijan. Yeah.
Is he?
He's gone.
Gone back.
Gone back.
Fuck. So bad Ireland's got.
That's a good point. Yeah, immigrants are like, fuck this. They're right too.
Was he from
Fucking-
Azerbaijan? Well, somewhere like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, Azerbaijan.
Was it
yeah,
Azerbaijan?
Yeah,
I'm actually impressed. I remember that. He was
Yeah.
a nice guy.
he was.
Shouts out.
His name was Eamon.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
Nice guy.
he was like,
He was like, I'm
"You're Eamon. No,
Yeah.
you're Eamon.
Yeah, no, it was
I'm
good.
Eamon." Yeah, no, I've lived with. I think I'm the only honky in that apartment complex. To be fair,
Your sheets got up and assaulted him, and he was like, I'm going back home. That's
well, everyone
nice.
thinks I'm the landlord, so they just be bringing.
You're the white one.
Maybe like here,
You're
have
the
some
white
fresh
one.
seats.
Sort of like,
They-
here's the whitey. He
Oh.
must be the landlord.
He must be the landlord. I'm the only white guy in there.
Yeah.
I think I was the only like white speaking, the only Irish white lad in there.
Yeah.
I didn't get the respect that I deserved. No,
You sort of
I've always
presided around
liked,
the apartment complex, did you?
no, I always
with your
liked
hands
them.
behind your
I
back.
like living with immigrants. They're fun people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, well, I always got on with everyone there, and you know, I wasn't like, I'm actually born here. I'm born in Ireland. I can't they can't take my visa. You know, I was never one of those guys.
No, yeah. So look, tell your sheets I was asking for him anyway.
Yeah, they haven't fully developed ears yet. Sentient sheets. Can't be changing your seats every week. That's fucking.
I'm thinking about, ladies and gentlemen, in the vein of like the Gonk, I'm thinking about writing Bram Stoker's Jack Dracula.
Bram Stoker's Jack Dracula.
Yeah, because it's public domain, like Dracula's public.
Jack Dracula.
So I'm thinking about doing Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Dracula.
It's public domain.
Yeah. I love that one.
We can actually call it Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Jack Dracula.
No, Dracula.
No, it has to be Jack.
Well, he
Jack
can be
Dracula.
the main character, but we can actually do like
Bram Stoker's.
yeah, with like it can be literally called Bram Stoker's Dracula, and we won't get in trouble.
We
So
do the same with Night of the Living Dead.
yeah,
That's public domain.
so we can do. So I'm thinking about Bram Stoker's Dracula.
You know, it has to be Jack
It'll
Dracula.
be the main character. Do you want to voice Jack Dracula? You
Yeah.
can do.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah, you can be Jack
Oh,
Dracula.
Jack Dracula.
Well, I think, because it's Bram Stoker, it probably has to be about gooning.
And like
the story
50
has to
Shades
somehow
50 Shades of Grey.
involve gooning somehow.
Jack Dracula was a
Yeah.
CEO.
It could be an
of,
erotic novel,
could be.
perhaps.
Erotic novels have kind of come and gone, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
Have they?
See what you did there.
What would be the newest sexual escapade that women would be interested in?
What you
Well, like
mean?
they were all like
50 Shades of Grey, they want to get bed up
dominance
and
of
all.
50 Shades of Grey.
That's
That'd be the next
over
one.
now.
Like, what are women into now?
Pegging. Just the one that used their fake Mickey to ride you.
No more, Jack,
Yeah.
please.
It's gone the other way now, like.
But all that
They
Mina
want it
heard
to be
was,
rolled.
No more.
They want it to be road, now it's time to ride.
Mm.
So
Just when you thought the sphincter was safe,
I wouldn't like to be out on them streets nowadays. You'd be getting bummed.
getting Kit Katted.
You're getting
Four
bummed.
fingers. Yeah, it wouldn't really be for me, you know.
Par for course these days.
Well,
If you're out
you
and
know, if you're
about,
going
you know.
out on those streets. Bum chicken is just
It's
normal
normal.
now. You know, it's a shame that we've become such a fucking barbaric society.
But yes, we're probably less barbaric than we ever were before.
I wonder how often lads would be sticking stuff in their holes back when we were barbarians. It's got 3 speeds.
Yeah, true. Probably not too much on that front. Yeah, I don't think that would have been happening.
Yeah, like, do you think they
But-
would have taken it as an affront if a girl sort of...
But then on the flip side of that, I'd say they were writing all sorts of bad old
But
minges.
sure, even back then, there
You know.
wasn't really the binary of, like, straight and gay. Everyone was just kind of fucking...
I
wasn't
don't
it?
know though.
Wasn't there a lot of that?
They say that, but
Weren't
then
the
that's like
Spartans-
fucking.
I can get it, dude.
They
I
say
can
that,
get
but
it.
that's like fucking.
Hanging out with the bros.
They would say that, like, wouldn't they?
Would
But,
be
but were they
no.
like?
Who are they?
Well, figure that out.
Big
I'll leave
gay.
that up. I'm big gay. Yeah, Netflix.
Netflix.
Netflix
But
would say that, alright, yeah.
No, but like that with the Spartans and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, how could you make
One
an army
group
even
of-
more efficient? Is like if they were all fucking in love with each other, because then you would like fight so hard to protect your bros, who also bugger you. That's pretty cool.
I think you could make a compelling argument for sex being more linear back then, as much as you can make it.
But is that because we were more like there was like, it's like a dog humping, just like whatever. This feels good.
Yeah, there could have been that too. Yeah.
Like that we didn't have sexual
yeah.
preference.
Yeah, that could be true.
You
That
know?
could be true. But
You're just like,
I don't know.
just touch it. It doesn't matter who, it doesn't matter where, just touch it.
That's the Netflix, like Netflix makes like some show about cavemen, and it's just cavemen all bumming each other. It's
A
like,
really sentimental show about gay cavemen.
it's like before they discover
tell
fire,
anybody.
before they learn how to hunt or anything, they're just all riding. It's like everything else was a byproduct after the fact that they were all riding. It's like in between all of that, they figured out the rest of it.
How do you think stuff happened, like blowjobs and stuff? How do you think that, like, who
Yeah, I
did the
do
first
wonder.
blowjob?
I do wonder about that. Like, I wonder when that came in vogue. All right, I do wonder. I have thought about that at times. in my life.
Lonely nights.
I have wondered.
When was the first one of these? when did this happen for the first time?
No, I have. That does enter the forefront.
It is
of my
curious
psychology.
though, because like at a certain this like bonus, this should be on the Patreon.
Should
but
be,
like
fuckers.
there is
Get
a
on the
thing where you're
Patreon,
like,
cunts.
just how could you even consider it? Imagine
Well,
being
it's-
so horny.
Well, it's simple. It feels good.
It does, but you don't like the generally the stuff feels good anyway. Like, does it feel better than
Feels
maybe
good.
for women? It probably feels better than actual regular sex.
I think.
Stimulate my clitori.
I think it can feel feel good for both parties, no matter what way you swing it. You know, recipient, giver, both.
Oh, it means
It can be all enjoyable.
no. I think it's all enjoyable.
You know.
It's just no. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I'm just saying, as like I don't think a girl would have been like, I sucked that. Like,
Oh,
do you know? I'm curious to
don't
see
know
how
about
that.
that now.
There's a few of them out there, but like,
I don't know.
I was the
about
first
that,
guy.
though.
Imagine like you had sex a few times as a
I know it's pretty
caveman or
baby,
whatever.
but I didn't take it out for nowhere.
I didn't dig it out for no way, baby. But imagine you were like a caveman. You'd had
Yeah,
sex a
the
couple of
Netflix
times.
adaptation.
But then like,
Everyone's writing in
and in the
cave.
camera, like you're kissing the cave woman, and then her head just goes below the camera, and you're like, whoa, you know, never.
I mean,
before.
look at a point.
Stop doing that. Stop doing that.
I mean, you know, throughout history, we would have put a lot of stupid shit in our mouth. So why not put a Mickey or a Minge in your mouth? You know,
But generally, we
like
put a load of
we were
stupid
eating
shit
like
in our mouth.
poison berries and all.
But
like.
that was for like we probably knew we weren't gonna.
We were man.
sustain
There was probably a point in
ourselves
time
with
where we were
blowjobs.
sucking on rocks or something. Like, do you know what I mean? We're fucking dumb. Like, there's probably a period of time where we were eating bark. For
Well, I'm
like,
glad that the oral sex is stuck more so than the rock sucking.
I mean, yeah. Look, why not? Like, it's an intimate act, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
Bit of intimacy there. Like, I'm putting your big manky yolk in my mouth. Do you know, bit of intimacy.
It is a problem.
You know,
though.
I trust you enough to put your big
Can
fucking
you get
mangy yolk.
STDs in your face?
You can, yeah. It's actually, there's a lot. If you're out in these streets, it's a bit of advice to all of our single listeners. I wouldn't be out fucking giving oral all the time. These manky fucking
Put
bastards.
cellophane over.
No, I've done it. Like, you know, I was out in them trenches once upon a time, but it's a risky game.
That's why he grows the moustache.
Yeah, I've got, I've got like fucking super fucking chlamydia on me.
It's not actually a moustache.
No,
it's
it's
an-
super chlamydia.
No,
it's actually
it-
a sentient being.
It would be bad though, wouldn't it? Like just to like, because whatever way your cock rot or whatever, like at least you can hide that away in shame, denim shame. But like, if you're wearing it like a scarlet letter on your face,
Yeah, herpes. I know a lot of poor individuals who've had herpes in the groin region.
man, they get glazed.
I feel bad for him because I know of a guy who dated a girl who they were dating for a while and like it was going well. She seemed really nice.
Spotty fanny.
Yeah, she kind of had to say to him like, "Look, here's the crack. You know, I have the herpes. It flares up, it goes away. You know, it's like the tide. You know."
It'll take you out.
We can make hay while the sun shines, and then when the herp comes back, we can't. And it wasn't for him, so
That's fair.
But
Tough
you,
for her
feel, yeah, you
because she
feel
probably
bad.
got
It's a
herp
moment
some
of
other-
madness, you know.
Well,
and then
you
you've
never
got
know.
the herps.
You know, look.
I probably should have got it. I just think for some reason I dodged a lot of bullets. I don't know why. I must have a class immune system or something.
Yeah, you can't get rid of the herpes either, can you?
No.
When the herpes is
Nope.
in. That's it, man.
Yeah. So that's why he's very unlucky. Like,
Then you can get like
there's meds you can
yes.
get now where it just totally nukes it. I think though, like,
Oh really?
yeah, it makes it
Herp
pretty
away.
much. I think so.
Like-
Herp alert.
Herp-
That we should get sponsored by Herp alert.
Yeah. Do you have herpes?
Yeah,
Fear
no,
not.
like I think most, like, isn't it something
But
like
cold sores is like that's
herps? That's herps.
Yeah, but it's like
Do you
a
get
normal-
coleslaws?
No, I don't get cold
No,
sores.
either do I. You know.
But my wife does. But
Oh,
I
well,
don't.
she has the herps.
Yeah, she got a herpes on her face.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck? What the fuck did you do? What the fuck did you do?
Apparently, no, we all like pretty much have it.
It's
but-
probably all exists, but I don't get cold sores at all.
No, never.
Which I thought, like, if it was as contagious as they say, like you would suspect that you just get it off someone if they get it from time to time. She seems to be like a stress response for her. If she's stressed about
Yeah,
something, she
that
might get a
happens, yeah.
cold sore.
I shifted around with a cold sore one time as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no bother.
I just felt bad. She'd driven down a fair distance, so I said, "Watch her."
She have a little like thing on it. You know, something you put that see
No, I don't
thing,
think
like
so.
shift
It
protectors.
was on them ones where I was like, I can't shift for too long now because I don't want to get herpes.
So
I think that's how it works.
she just got out of the car. You shift her for a few minutes. You're like, go on, so off you pop. back you go. You got what you wanted.
Yeah, no, don't know. Cleared herpes. Can't do nothing for me. Don't have it.
No, don't want it.
Yeah, no. But it's in our systems and you know, watch yourselves, lads, out there. Don't be eating any foreign minges or nothing.
They're probably the ones to eat.
No, I don't mean foreign as in like from foreign places.
Ones
I
that
mean
aren't on you.
unknown minges.
You must know the minge.
Yeah, spend time with it. Couple
Get
of weeks.
used to the minge.
Couple of
Fall
weeks.
in love with
Make
the
sure
minge.
they're only.
And when you're in love with the minge and the minge tells you that it has herpes and now you can't leave the minge and you must
Well, that's
also
fair.
have
If you
herpes.
listen, you know, love is blind.
Of course it is. Love is spotty.
Yeah, if you're into it, you're into it. That's an awesome gesture. If you're like, yeah, sure, look, I don't care about your herpes. I'll play away.
Good personality. You've good personality.
Yeah, the perfect personality. Yeah, I don't know.
Marry into the herpes.
Feel bad for people with it though.
Probably a few people listening to this have the herpes.
Oh yeah, God, yeah.
You know, statistically.
Sympathies.
Yeah, sorry about that, dude. What's that killer medication you can get? Herp away.
Herp alert.
Herp alert.
That's the medication.
Yeah.
No, that's
Herp alert.
Purple Hearts medication. I don't know. Yeah, look, why are we talking about herpes?
I think we're both just really tired now.
They
so
were
it's
like delirious.
Yeah,
We're
but
in
we're
a
kind of
different-
like we're in the pocket now where everything feels weird. We're creating bad content at this point.
which seems to be enjoyed by our
People seem
listeners.
to like it.
It's like,
They're like, how come
keep
you
making worse
Should we just
content.
start recording at midnight so that
Yeah.
everything is a delirious fever dream?
Yeah, and just have no topic.
Reincarnation
Just say
kind of
her.
rhymes with PlayStation.
It's terrible,
Ever
isn't
play
it?
Tengu?
It's probably like we're probably like the opposite of most podcasts.
Bad.
No, it's like, you know, with most, like, it's like you're on the hook for like riveting entertainment, like, but then with us, whenever we do like nonsense, it's like whenever we like flunk off or go on the Mitch, like people are like, yeah, keep doing that.
Go on the hop for the
Yeah, it's like people are like,
the
keep
last
doing
few
that.
episodes. People
So
are
just like the egg
But is
on.
it just that we have a very vocal minority, whereas like you get more people if you actually make good content?
Probably, yeah.
But we just have like a load of people who are like,
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah, that's great, lads. Go
Because
on to,
no one else does.
go on to
it.
Patreon though, yeah, if you love it.
They're probably all
Go
on the
there, go
Patreon.
on. We, no,
All
more
the
is,
people that could
if
like
you
this.
like that, yeah. Because otherwise, you know, like we're not Radiolab where we do all the weird edits and everything, and like chop in loads of voices, and you're like, where the fuck is that coming from? Just editing, lads.
That went from the left headphone to the right headphone.
Yeah. So it's like there's a new lad in the room. Is there? Who the fuck has got that?
Jada Boomrah, he was one of the producers.
It's gone to the
And
dogs
old
now,
lad.
though, I hear.
Is
isn't
it?
I think
I
that's
think
what
they're
I've
just
heard.
re-releasing old ones. I listened to a podcast called Pretend, and it's supposed to be about like people who lie or who are like found to be concealing all this mad stuff. Like your one from Apple Cider Vinegar, who did all those fake holistic therapies and
yeah.
said she had
Yeah,
a brain cancer and shit.
Oh yeah.
And I turned it on the other day, right? It was bizarre. I was like, what the fuck is going on? It was just a girl talking about a bad Easter egg hunt. I was like, Jesus, they're really jumping the shark. She was literally going, and they said there'd be like 5 eggs for the children. There was only 4. And it was like a parish run Easter egg hunt. And it was 40 minutes of that. And it was like my sister giving out. Like my uncle gave out that the communion was too dry in mass once. And that's what it was like.
You see, do you know what it is though? With a lot of them is they don't have to try anymore because they just have their audience and they're successful. So it's just like they've kind of gone into probably where
Meanwhile,
we're
we
not
are successful and don't have an audience, and we're also not trying. So that's it. We've gone straight to the end.
yeah, we came in with that end
We were
phase philosophy and work ethic. So I don't know. We're 2 episodes a week. Get real. Anyway, 2 fucking hour and a half ones. I'm off to bed.
Rob's going to bed. I have to drive home. I'm going to drive my car into the river.
Over and out.